conference this week is a continuation of our studies of the 8 limbs. And also, what was special about this week is that we've just finished our 30-day meditation on can you be for something and against nothing. And we have been reading a Native American Hopi, I don't say prayer, more like intention. The last line, remember, was we are the ones we've been waiting for. And I loved it because I felt like the timing was so perfect with sort of our political climate right now and sort of how everyone's feeling about where we stand in our own issues in our own country. But also because we were studying the first 2 limbs of the Ashtanga 8 limbs, which is the yamas and the niyamas, which are all about how we stand in the world and how we stand for ourselves, like how we take care of ourselves. So this week I wanted to say, let's take this 30-day meditation we did and move that into our preparation for the new year. Because in a little bit over a week, it's going to be 2017. Can you guys believe it? So I always like to encourage you guys to do some very special intentions for the new year and to kind of prepare yourself for the new year by looking back on the year past and sort of what you want for yourself this year. So what I wanted to ask you guys to do is to go back and look at the Native American intention that we've been reading and to look at the questions that I've been asking you about the yamas and the niyamas and kind of incorporate that into your mentally preparing and getting ready for 2017. And one of the things that I asked everyone to do on Sunday was to buy a journal. This isn't the journal I brought on Sunday. I have a really beautiful journal that I had as I show and tell. But actually it's kind of cool. Alice, who runs our websites and does our email blast, always makes me these special journals every year, and it became sort of a tradition, like that's always her gift that she gives me. And I realized like how precious that is to me to have these journals that are meaningful. And so one of the things that I want you guys to do is to prepare yourself with that. And I was thinking, do you guys remember when you were kids and it was like a week or 2 before school was going to start and your mom or dad would take you school supply shopping? It was always the thing, like, we're going school supply shopping. And we'd get all excited, right? And you would buy new pencils and new pens and you'd get new notebooks. And I mean, this might date me, but I would always get like the school box. Did you guys used to get school boxes too? Is anybody else with that? And I always get excited every year in your little backpack and whatever it was. And so I sort of got tickled because the other day one of my dear friends I just happened to be in his office and he had these really cool pencils. And I got all excited like holding this pencil that he had. I'm like, this is a cool pencil. And he's like, you can have that pencil. And I was super excited about it. And it made me think of this teaching that we were doing together. And I'm like, you know what, you guys? Shala is school, and this is your school. This is where you guys continue to come to like grow and inspire yourself and challenge yourself. And sort of me as your like little school teacher is my job to try to inspire you guys to learn something new every year, to challenge ourselves in different ways. And so because it's 2017, it really is our new school year. And with however many days before 2017, this is when you go school supply shopping. So I want all of you to get excited about school supply shopping and to go and buy yourself some fantastic journal and the best pens that you can find, like your favorite, the way they write or the way you hold them, and some good pencils as well. And I have a suggestion for everybody. Where do you get good journals? Where do you guys get good journals? Where? Yeah, that is a good place too. I love to go to the art supply store. There's a really great like little privately owned art supply store in Laguna Beach. But they're everywhere, of course. And it's fun because you'll get your journal, but then also the pens, like they have like oodles of pens and little things where you can test them out and see how you like your pen or whatever. So I'd like you guys to to prepare for this by getting excited about your school year and about this being, you know, our next year around is sort of like our excitement over what's going to happen this year. What are we going to do this year in our yoga practice and our lives? So I also have a theme for us for this year. You guys know I come up with these themes from time to time, but I'm very excited about this theme, and it could possibly be part of your Christmas present, possibly, if you get excited about the theme the way I do. But one of the things we've been saying with the yamas and the niyamas is that I sort of personally feel like they're little compasses in our life. You know, like they're sort of universal truths, like, are you being truthful? How are you taking care of yourself? Svadhyaya, self-study, like, are you really looking at yourself and gauging where you are on your path, you know? So using this idea of compasses, like these little ways that we stay true to our path, I thought that it would be a really nice symbol for us to have here at the Shala, because this is very much a part of all your paths. So you know how on the altar we have all these beautiful deities, and I know a lot of you aren't necessarily Buddhist or Hindu, but they represent energies in your life. You know, like Lakshmi is about abundance, and Ganesh is about moving obstacles, and Shiva, the Nataraj, is about new beginnings. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to buy the Shala a really cool compass. And I'm going to have the compass always on the altar, like all the other energies, to remind you guys of two things. And one thing that I want the compass to remind you guys of, this is very important to me personally, but as a teacher, is that when I see a compass, it always makes me think of an adventure, that you're out on an adventure out in the wilderness. You're out like going somewhere new and exciting, or figuring out your way. So I want the compass to remind you guys that this is your adventure. Whenever we talk about the new year, I talk about this is your life, this is your story. You're the heroine in the story, you're the hero in the story. And we forget that sometimes because we get so busy just like getting through life that we forget that every day we wake up we have the possibility of making this our adventure. You know, and sometimes I always say it's like the book, right? The book of your life. The book of your life, the Joyce's life. It's like you're just about to turn the page to Joyce's life 2017. And some things we know because we're writing the story every day, right? Like when we want to set some intention with the new year, like how do you want to write your story this year? What do you want for yourself? What do you want to change in your story this year? But there's also the things that come up in our life that we could never possibly imagine, like it's sort of a mystery novel, right? Or a thriller. Because there are things that come up that you just, who knew, right? Some good, some bad. But you're still the author. Like we talked last week about the famous psychologist Csikszentmihalyi and all the research he did on happiness. And what he determined from interviewing and doing all these years of research on all kinds of people from all walks of life, all countries, all cultures, is that happiness wasn't determined by external things like how much money you buy, the person you marry, you know, all these kind of things, whether you got the promotion or not. That happiness, what was it based on? What was Csikszentmihalyi's research result? Yeah, how you process the things that happen in your life. And so as we look at the year to come, it's so important for us to look at our internal self, our internal compass, and how we process everything really determines whether or not today is an adventure for me or just a poopy day, right? Or a challenging day. It's up to me. So I want the compass to remind you guys of your life as an adventure, your story. And then the other thing I would like the compass to remind myself and you of is sort of the you are here part. You know, whenever you look at a map of some place, they have that red dot that says, you are here. Remember we talked about that in Bali, when we were in Bali, that whole idea of you are here. But when you see that red dot, you can kind of go back and see, like, how did you get there? What were the streets? What were the paths that you turned on to get where you are today? Which is super important, but also it helps determine where you're going to go. Where life is taking you is where you're driving yourself, you know. So I love the compass because I think of, back in the day, you didn't go out adventuring without a compass, right? Because if you got lost, how were you going to find your way out of the situation unless you could pull that compass out? Now we have the GPS and Siri, and she says, in 200 miles, turn right. And you're so grateful that she told you that. But it used to be where you had this cool compass you pulled out of your pocket. I love the movie Out of Africa, of course. Isak Denison's a cool lady, and I admire her so much. But I love the part where she decides she's going to take all those supplies out in the middle of the bush, right? Do you guys remember that part? Out in the middle of nowhere, she's going to find the military folks or whatever. And she gets totally lost. And it was scary. And then what happens in the movie? Who's familiar with Out of Africa? What happens? Yes, I love it. Robert Redford shows up on the scene. That's what happens. But I love that scene because he gives her his compass. And I absolutely love that. And then he said some cool things. But I love thinking of like this thing that you hold in your hand like shows you your north. And it's just a metaphor for us. You know, that what do we use to stay on our path or to find our north? I think it's a beautiful metaphor for our yoga practice and also our setting of intentions for 2017. You know, how we'll find our way this year. What will be our compass, you know, to keep us on our path. So I invite all of you to, when you need it, to hold the compass I'm going to purchase for us. It's going to be on the altar, but also I thought it might be fun, if you guys love that metaphor for your life, that you can ask for a compass for Christmas. It's not too late. And then your family would be like, why do you want a compass? And you'll say, because I'm going to have some adventures this year. You never know where that compass will take you. So lastly, I want you guys, once you buy your journals these next few days, this next week, is to be preparing for the new year by asking yourself the questions that we've been reading for the last month. So one is, you know, where's your water? For all of you to write that out and to really think of when you say water, something that nourishes you, that sustains your life, what does that mean to you? And where is it in your life? The other question I asked you guys is know your garden, and what is your garden? And Jeannie asked that question a few weeks ago, and I talked about, well, my garden is my family. My garden is my home, is my dogs, is you guys, you know, and am I taking care of my garden, and am I making time for my garden? You know, these are the things I want you guys to journal about. Also, what is your truth? You know, speak your truth. What does that mean to each of you when you show up in your life to be in your truth? Or to be good to yourself. That's always a good one to ask yourself right before the new year, right? How are you being good to yourself? I know some of you, Emily just walked in, I know she's a mom, and I know how much she loves her kids, and yet she makes time to come here to yoga. And I think that's really important because she's good to herself in that way, and then you can go and be a good mom, right? It's kind of how it works. So, but we all have to ask ourselves that question, you know, what do we really do that takes care of ourselves so that we can be healthy in our lives? So one of the things from the Native American prayer that I'm going to read at the end of class, but for our extended community, is the elders say, we must let go of the shore and push into the middle of the river. See who is in the river with you and celebrate. I love this line to consider for the new year as well, because it's a little bit about risk. We're going to talk about this next week with the idea of flow. But where in your life, as you right about to turn that page for 2017, where are you challenging yourself? Where are you taking a little bit of risk? Where are you pushing into the middle of the river? And then I love this part too. So if you're in the middle of the river, who's in the river with you? You know, that's so important to me as I look around the room. I'm like, well, you guys are always in the river with me because you're part of what inspires me in my life, you know, to look around and see who's in there with you. And write about all these things. And I think rather than just, you know, the usual like, oh, it's 2017, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do more yoga. I'm going to eat better. You know, all these things are great, but I'd love to have you guys ask yourself these questions and formulate with these questions ideas of like, what do you want this next year to have in store for you? You know, and to sit with that and just kind of let things flow as you start to write with like, what do you want to bring into your life this year? So I'm very excited. You guys can go buy your school supplies this week and start working on your intentions. As always, namaste.